This podcast is part of the Garnet Media Group podcast network. Garnet Media Group is a partnership between the student-run media outlets at the University of South Carolina. Find out more about Garnet Media's podcast and other student work at garnetmedia.org. Good morning, Gamecocks. I'm Chloe Findlay.
And I'm Meagan Daukshus. We're back for the summer, giving you a recap on the news and happenings on the USC campus and around Columbia.
I'm Caroline Smith, and we hope you're enjoying our summer podcast edition of Good Morning Gamecocks. This week, we'll take a look into a change in South Carolina public high school classes.
Last week's Microsoft outage led to shutdowns across the world.
And the 2024 Paris Olympics are coming up, so let's talk about an Olympics from the past to remember some roots. We hope to get your weekend started in the right direction. Welcome to Good Morning Gamecocks. Welcome back, everyone. Once again, we are missing Delaney, but she will be back with us again next week. However, we have the other two usual suspects, Caroline and Meagan. What's going on?
I just finished my internship today. So
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I actually had a really great time, and now I get to enjoy just a little bit of freedom before we move back on campus in less than a month.
Woo-hoo! I leave in a week and a half.
I am personally very excited. I feel like even just with this show, we've got so much fun, exciting stuff going on. So much to look forward to. I'm really excited to get back in the cogwheel. Is that what that's called?
In the groove?
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go back in the groove.
Oh boy. Well, I guess Chloe, you want to bring us right back into the groove of our podcast and
let's
do
it.
Let's start story.
Let's start chatting a little bit. So we've got some stories for you to kick off your weekend, starting with an update to South Carolina high school curriculums. The South Carolina Department of Education announced that its course offerings will not include AP African American Studies for the 2024 to 2025 school year. The course focused on prominent African American figures and movements of the past and the modern day. So I think it's important to talk about the history of the course, not only in the nation, but also in South Carolina. So the South Carolina Department of Education implemented this course after elevated interest in South Carolina counties to participate in the pilot program for AP African American Studies. It's a new class. The College Board only just started it for the 2022 to 2023 school year, which makes sense because I saw this article and I was thinking back, I don't think my high school had this. I don't know anybody who took this that I knew, and I realized it was only created, what is that, 2 years ago now, I think?
Yeah, this didn't exist when I was in high school. And as far as I know, when they did the little pilot introduction of this course to South Carolina, there were only 2 out of like the 50 some odd counties in South Carolina that ever offered it. So I don't think I know anybody who took it. So if they're dropping this course, there must be a reason why they're dropping it, especially after just introducing it so soon. What's the logic in the State House right now?
Yes, so there was a memo released by the Deputy Superintendent of the South Carolina Department of Education, Matthew Ferguson. He says that the course is being dropped. It's because of issues addressed by the South Carolina's General Assembly and a budget, as well as impending permanent legislation. That's pulled directly from the memo. So I looked into this potential or pending permanent legislation. House Bill 3728, South Carolina House Bill 3728, will be enacted at the start of the 2024 to 2025 school year. And let's take a look at what it says. So it lists quote unquote prohibited concepts that may not be promoted in the course of high school curriculum. And I looked through all of them, and I'll name some of them in paraphrase that are related to or could be related to a reason why this course would not be acceptable in South Carolina high schools. So one of those points includes, this is prohibited concepts, remember. Members of one race, sex, ethnicity, color, or national origin are inherently superior to members of another. So again, the curriculum cannot promote that concept. Another concept the curriculum cannot promote is a person is not inherently privileged, racist, or sexist based on their race, sex, ethnicity, etc. And then an individual by virtue of race, sex, ethnicity, color, etc., bears responsibility for the actions committed in the past of the same sex, race, ethnicity, color, etc. So the bill says that these concepts cannot be taught or promoted in a high school curriculum. And although not directly stated in the House bill, when I looked at these, those jumped out to be the topics that might become that might be of some concern when it comes to this course in the eyes of South Carolina legislatures.
So,
I hate legalese. Like, looking at stuff like this, it's just so difficult to understand. And like, I want to see the good in the people who are promoting this, because in the even just the paraphrase stuff that you just picked out to read to us, these prohibited concepts, like, I see where they're coming from. And on the surface, it looks like it's okay. It's just like, what are they so afraid of? They're afraid of something.
Yes. My thought is too now, is this something they're pulling out of regular history classes and not just this one singular AP course?
Yeah, how far is this going to go?
Well, one of the things that I had looked in, that I saw in several articles, that said schools in South Carolina can use the material from the AP class in an honors class. It just can't be the AP class. So I'm not...
Wait, so do they have an issue with the material itself, or do they have an issue with the college credit associated with the material?
Okay, this is going to be my best inference here. The an AP class, you need to get taught very specific material because of what is going to be on the national AP exam. It has to include everything that's going to be on that exam. In an honors class that is dictated by the guidelines of, let's say, South Carolina Department of Education, that can redact some concepts and still be considered a viable curriculum. So I'm assuming what could happen is that South Carolina educators could take out the concepts and topics within the AP class that don't necessarily violate these prohibited concepts and teach that in an honors level course. However, they can't teach the AP course, because if they don't teach those concepts that necessarily violate these prohibited concerns, the students are at a disadvantage because they won't be able to do as well on the AP exam.
So
that's
the
my best
headlines
guess.
that we've been reading are probably, what they're saying is true, but it's not really what the lawmakers meant. Like, they're not banning the course. They're banning the direct instruction of concepts that are required to be included in the course.
Well, they are banning the AP course.
Well, they had to.
Again,
it just really feels like lawmakers walk face first into headlines. Did they think that we weren't going to be talking about this when they... I don't...
That's what I'm thinking too, like Caroline, like, I saw you rolling your eyes, and like, I'm thinking the same thing, like, so we're just not gonna teach it, like, and I mean, what about
without organizations like the College Board promoting the instruction of African American history, a state like South Carolina is never of its own volition going to teach that as thoroughly as it should. Use this as a resource, and I'm willing to bet that other states are probably doing kind of the same thing with courses like this, and I guarantee you all of them are red states. I've just bet it.
Florida and Arkansas already banned AP African American Studies. Additionally, Georgia will not allow state funds to go to teaching the course. They will allow it to be taught if it's taught on local funds, but not on state funds. And coming back to the memo from the district superintendent for the South Carolina Department of Education, this is a direct quote. There is nothing preventing districts from continuing to offer AP African American Studies as a locally approved honors course, should they choose to do so, in addition to continuing to offer other approved African American courses as districts have already done for a number of years. So I think it is that they can't offer the AP course because they want to redact certain topics that they deem prohibited.
So, but now that we leave it up to just, the local superintendent, and that means, like, they can all just do the same fighting that we have, the Senate doing, and, like, not allow it in their schools.
Yeah, this is just, I mean,
And their reasoning is
stuff
probably
like
going to
this
be
is just not black and white, you know? Like,
yeah, and
this is rubbing me the wrong way. And I read stories like this, and we talk about stuff like this, and we just here sitting like discussing this with each other. It's the sort of thing where I'm not 100% sure if it's something that should upset us or not. I can't tell if they want us to think that this is a good thing or want us to think that it's a bad thing, but I know that I don't think it's okay to let my children's education be up to how racist my superintendent is. Which it sounds like that's exactly what's going to be happening.
Right. If you leave it up to the superintendent and whoever else decides what courses come into schools, I think we're going to see less of this class and other things promoted into schools that might be the opposite of something like this class.
Yeah, and a couple of things. Another one being that in the same memo, they also are dropping the AP pre-calculus course. So it could just be that
what?
that was like thrown in there randomly. Like this includes it's the first paragraph of the memo is talking about we're going to drop some AP courses. This includes African American Studies and the pre-calculus course. So it could hypothetically also be a budget thing that could have something to do with it. Also because it is mentioned in here that one of the concerns around dropping the course is due to the budget. However, I think it would be naive to think that that is the main concern, especially considering the House bill that was passed. Now, of course, the memo ended with the superintendent saying that the South Carolina Department of Education maintains its unwavering commitment to teaching the factual historical experience of African Americans to our students. But the teaching of education has just become so political and so controversial because everyone has a different opinion about what can be taught, what should be taught, and what shouldn't be taught when it comes down to, gosh, I mean, everything that you can think of that is political, race, sex, gender, this is all, and this was all stuff that was mentioned in that House bill.
I feel like it's weird too, because high school for me was now 4 years ago, but I didn't run into any issues with this, especially in history classes. When I was in high school, what I saw more was if you wanted to be in science and religion, if you wanted to be pulled out of a certain classes because it would, not follow your religious path, and what you believe, that's what you get pulled out of. But why can't we just do that as well for this? If you can get pulled out of class, if that's something your parents don't want you learning, but it's still part of the curriculum.
Well, this wasn't a required class. AP classes are always electives. So back to the budget thing that you brought up, that as a business student, I understand that things get cut out because they're just not in the budget. Do you have any information on how popular this class was at the schools that it was taught? Was it so unpopular that it wasn't worth teaching?
I am not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure it was only piloted in a couple of districts. I don't think it was a universal. The AP pilot program is 2 years long. So the course was created 2022-2023. So that was pilot year 1. This past year was pilot year 2. And now it almost seems like that was the training period. And now it's an official College Board class.
Well, if they only put it in 2 counties in South Carolina, did they really give it a fair shot to gain popularity among students?
I don't know. I don't think with the pilot program, I don't think it's nationally rolled out. I think it does only go to a very select number of counties to see if there's interest in I don't know. The fact that it's called a pilot program kind of rings off as it's not really available everywhere yet. We're going to roll it out as it gets more popular.
Now, was the pre-calc also a pilot program?
AP pre-calculus debuted in the fall of 2023, so it's technically still in its pilot program, if the pilot program for this is also 2 years long.
I took AP calculus. I feel like if AP pre-calculus existed, but my high school just taught regular pre-calculus. So if by this logic that I'm now following, what I experienced at my high school, which is AP calculus existed and I took it, if AP pre-calculus had been available maybe I would have took it, but my high school very much had the capacity to teach it anyway without needing to interact with the college board, which adds bureaucracy to the situation that might be inefficient or too expensive. So if this is the logic and we can apply this to African American studies, maybe we can look on the side of the benefit of the doubt and think, okay, well, maybe all the paperwork and expense associated with the college board is not necessary for these high schools to effectively teach this material. Maybe the material of AP African American Studies could be incorporated into U.S. history, even though African American Studies goes into the history of African Americans well before America was involved. Maybe AP World History could incorporate some of these concepts. Maybe AP Human Geography could incorporate some of these concepts. And these were all three of those were AP courses that were also offered at my high school. So maybe if the concepts of this class that is now not able to be taught in South Carolina, individual teachers could incorporate some of the material into other classes to make sure that students get a more well-rounded education on African American history.
Yeah, and of course this, as with any other political topic, it has its supporters and its haters, for lack of a better word. Some people saying that this part of education is inherently important to understanding the world around us. Other people saying that the language in the bill is is visibly democratic, and in the sense that it is promoting equality, freedom of person without bound to one's history.
History is always it's impossible to teach or write or interact with history without the bias of the author or the learner being
exactly
the equation. So I feel like I can understand where they're coming from when they're bringing up so whether or not, because we can't agree on whether or not this is okay, I feel like we have to err on the side of caution and assume that for now it's just still not okay.
Yeah, and unfortunately this part of history especially has just become very political. If we could take politics out of this could really be, a wonderful course, as would AP World History be, AP European History would be, AP US History would be. However, the fact of the matter is that all history courses that we take in high school are biased in some, not even just in high school, in college as well. In any tier, it's inherently biased in some sort of way. And if we could just redact the whole political orb around these classes, this could really all be for the better. Who wouldn't want themselves to be the most educated on, whatever topic that they choose to delve into?
And people who are dedicated to learning this will go out of their way to learn the information kind of by whatever needs necessary. People who want to learn this will delve into it in college, or they'll seek out other social groups that will help them learn this stuff. Maybe it's not offered at a public high school, but people in the pursuit of knowledge will find it. Moving a little bit beyond South Carolina, not even just to the nation, but also to the whole world, there was an odd IT issue spanning the whole globe last week.
Yeah, so this past Friday, there was a global Microsoft outage, and it was reported from the United States to London, Australia, New Zealand. It was everywhere, and it affected multiple industries. Affected air travel the hardest. That's where it hit home. Banking and medical industries. And as of Friday, 3,300 flights were canceled globally due to the outage.
Oh my gosh.
That is so scary. Don't you hate how much just depends on Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's crazy. And it was reported the outage was first seen noticed in Australia with their air travel. So they reported the issue, and then we realized it was also affecting our airlines, and that's where we got 3,300 flights canceled. And one of the I would say more busy times of the year to be traveling. It's summer vacation. I mean, I was like, hopefully those people made it to their vacations. I know that I have a family friend coming from California this past Friday, and his flight was canceled. So it's affecting everyone.
Yeah. What I thought was kind of funny was that JetBlue and Southwest, so like budget airlines, they were totally fine.
Yeah.
Because their IT
They were.
systems are so outdated that they weren't affected by this newfangled thing that was messing up.
Yeah, the worst ones were United, Delta, American, and then Virgin Australia and Jetstar were some that happened in Australia that were caused through the issue. So
Those are highbrow airlines. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, United, Delta, American, I feel like those are the big three here in the United States. That's a lot of flights to get canceled.
The outage wasn't actually Microsoft. It was like this third party company, right?
It was
Yeah.
CrowdStrike.
Yeah, it was CrowdStrike. And now what exactly is CrowdStrike, you may ask?
I don't know, Megan. Can you enlighten us about what CrowdStrike is?
CrowdStrike is a cybersecurity provider. So kind of went south on what they, work for. They provide things like software, research into cyber attacks on companies, notably the Sony attack, computer hacking that they had in, I think, 2014, 2016. So their software update that they provided to Microsoft was what caused the outage. So all of that software, for whatever the new update was that hit Microsoft in whatever ways each industry uses Microsoft is what caused the global outage. So now the company that caused the outage is fixing the outage, and we'll see where it goes. It seems like things are starting to get back to it a bit. I think we're still seeing some things here and there being affected.
Yeah, I thought it was a little funny because I woke up and I saw the news about the outage and I was expecting, my computer to not turn on or not connect to Wi-Fi or not be able to use Outlook or Microsoft Teams or, whatever. But it didn't affect any small scale technology at all. It was just these really big industries that arguably need it more than I need to, open up my laptop and read the news.
Yeah,
it affected the company I work for. Like my email and Teams never got shut down, but there are other softwares that the firm that I work for requires for some people to do their job. More high level, in depth, more technologically complicated software that people use to do their jobs that did get affected. And there was a little running joke around the office, like some intern at Crowdstrike is getting fired today. Let's hope none of our interns pull off something like this.
So,
yeah.
So really this was just, it was just like a virus?
Yeah, so it was the software they provided through one of their new updates of, I don't know exactly what hardware, software goes to per system. Like you said, it was higher end systems, but that specific update is what caused the outage. Something must have went wrong in it.
I just think it's really interesting how that can happen.
Yeah.
It's almost a little bit scary. In the sense that someone, could get a hold of our software, install the faulty update, and all of a sudden we're grounded, our medical documents are down, our banking systems are down in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of hubbub about flights, but I think that we've been in this conversation, we've been sleeping on the fact that like hospitals and stuff were highly affected by this. That is really scary.
One of the first things that came to my mind when this happened was the fact that it doesn't seem like this was a malicious move. This seems like it was like a mistake. However, this type of whatever happened could very well be used maliciously. And we were shut down.
Yeah. Like Caroline was even affected. I know my cousin was affected. We're trying to print scripts for NBC she works for, and that was down. So something so simple like that, just a script software platform the only thing is it only affected businesses. So basically anyone who had a business issued computer, it seemed to be affecting. So us who use Teams and, stuff like that at home weren't affected, but it might still affect us, especially with the banking. I think it's kind of like, it worries me. It worries me because one, it could have been a lot worse with banking, but it is possible that a lot of people's paychecks might be delayed this week or in the coming days or a few days, ago, just because they're trying to get their systems all back in check. And I guess making sure they're not overpaying or underpaying people that what they're supposed to get.
In other global news, we've got an exciting weekend coming up this weekend in Paris. What's happening, guys?
I'm so excited. The Summer Olympics, Paris 2024, baby.
Megan is so ready. We've talked about the Olympics a couple of times already on this podcast. We've discussed our favorite sports. We discussed summer versus winter. I think the Good Morning Gamecocks crew is thoroughly ready for the Olympics to start.
Oh yeah.
And I'm ready for my history course. Is this like a quiz? Because I took an Olympic class and my Olympic knowledge is through the roof.
Unfortunately, Megan, there are no quiz questions here today, but I do have some history knowledge for you. We're going to cover just a little bit of Olympic history to contextualize this for you. So obviously the Olympics go back to ancient times in Greece, right? But the first modern Olympics, as we know them, were in Athens in the summer of 1896. So like kind of not that long ago.
Greece just seems like the country to host the Olympics. They just seem the most...
Where it started.
Well, they were first, dog.
Well, I was going to say they seem most like...
But in Greece, the reason the Olympic Games were a thing was to show, off to the gods. It was for the Greek gods.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Well, let me tell you,
it was an
these
honor.
Folks in the 1904 Olympic Marathon... They probably would have been happy to know that maybe any deity upstairs was down for the count that day and maybe wasn't watching. So let's dig into the absolute fiasco that the 1904 Olympic Marathon was. And let's just hope and pray to, again, whatever deities one might choose, that Paris goes significantly better. It seems like some decent infrastructure, a lot of care has gone into the planning of these Olympics, thanks to the International Olympics Committee, which organized the games back in 1896 and is still organizing Olympics today. But let's go back to an Olympics that maybe wasn't so thoughtfully planned. So let's set the scene a little bit. It's 1904, St. Louis, Missouri. These are the first Olympics in the United States.
Isn't it kind of odd to think we went from Athens to St. Louis?
Yeah, I was just
it happened really fast. Just like one downgrade, right?
That's what I was saying. I mean, I'm kind of thinking of Greece as in the real olden times when it was super hyped up. But I kind of think of St. Louis.
Hercules.
Yeah. I'm thinking of Hercules.
Are we just thinking about the 1900 Olympics in between?
Legitimately,
that's Paris, which was Paris.
Those were Paris too, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Also, this is just a little fun tidbit. Did you guys know that arts and cultures used to be involved in the Olympics?
Yes. You had a lengthy discussion about this.
I think I might have talked
about
that last time,
we talked about this before. So in 1904, Olympics, they just didn't have the same clout back then. People were kind of worried about participation. There were maybe only about 500 participants, which is probably how many people participate in the Olympics today? Several thousand.
Yeah, more than 500.
From pretty much every country in the world. And back then, there was really just a handful of countries. Does anyone want to guess how many countries participated in the 1904 Olympics?
Let's see. I'm going to go 24. It's my favorite number.
That's a reasonable guess. You're a little high.
Oh, 12.
11.
No way!
Oh! 11 countries participated in the 1904 Olympic Marathon. More than half of the athletes participating were from the U.S., since it was in the United States. This whole thing that the International Olympic Committee planned with moving the games every year, why they're not in Athens every year like they used to be when they were, in ancient times when the Olympics were originally invented, is because it was just so hard to travel. In 1904, you couldn't just put 4,000 athletes on a plane and ship them to Rio de Janeiro. You had to just pick a place and hope that the people there could participate. So people, because it was so difficult to do this, it was difficult to get people places, it was difficult to get news around, people just didn't care as much about the Olympics. So the 1904 Olympics were originally planned to be held in Chicago, but the World's Fair that year was going to be in St. Louis. They were worried that the World's Fair would overshadow the Olympics and all the tourists would go to St. Louis and no one would go to Chicago. So they just moved the Olympics to St. Louis also, but the World's Fair was still definitely the primary event. Now, just the climate around these giant world events has shifted, but the St. Louis Arch was like built for the World's Fair, and the Space Needle in Seattle was built for a 1960s World's Fair. So these Olympics were hilariously slapdash at the time. But let's delve into just one aspect of these Olympics. The most disastrous aspect of it was the marathon. So some details about the 1904 Olympic marathon. I want y'all to close your eyes. I want you to set the scene. I want you to
my eyes are closed.
Good. So you're trying to get yourself in the mindset. I'm an Olympic athlete in 1904.
I am an Olympic athlete in 1904.
I'm about to run a marathon.
Wow, I'm about to run a marathon.
All right.
Wow.
So I got some more information.
I did it, Mom. Can you believe it?
So you're in St. Louis, Missouri. It's 3 p.m.
St. Louis.
You can stop repeating. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
You're in St. Louis, Missouri. It's 3 p.m. It's July. It's well over 90 degrees outside, and it's incredibly humid. You are overdressed.
What am I wearing?
Long sleeves, long pants, and maybe not shoes.
Oh, that's what I wear to run every day.
Yeah, so the tracks that these runners were going to cover, these tracks, a lot of the roads, several of them were unpaved, super dusty, rocks everywhere. The track was hilly, like hills up to 300 feet tall had to be climbed. There were 7 hills over the course of the race. These roads that the athletes were running on were not closed to car or train traffic. So you had to contend with other people in the way, trains, trolleys, streetcars, regular cars, horses, dogs, everything. Also, so you've put yourself in the mindset of an Olympic athlete, right? In 1904, this can mean anything. Literally anybody could join. You could just sign up off the street because there weren't enough athletes. So if you wanted to participate in the Olympic marathon, you just could. It was probably going to be a miserable experience, though, because this was at the time in science history where people were really interested in testing the complete and total limits of the human body. And the objective of this was to test how much can you handle in terms of severe dehydration. So water was not allowed except for one water station at the 12-mile mark.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. In that heat clothes and almost getting hit by all of the World's Fair traffic.
Yeah.
I think I would want some water.
Yeah, so let's meet just a couple of the people who ran in this race. So you've put yourself in the mind of a 1904 Olympic marathoner. Here's some of your competition that you're going up against. I'm going to introduce you to 6 people and the way they attacked this race. So let's start with Thomas Hicks. He's from the United States. So when you go to the gym, do y'all drink like pre-workout or something?
Absolutely not.
No,
You know what I'm talking about, though. This is like
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So people drink pre-workout. So his version of pre-workout at the time was a concoction of raw egg whites and rat poison.
Oh my gosh.
And
Did
over
he
the
even
course
live?
okay, we're gonna get there. Over the course of the race, as he became more and more delirious and hallucinogenic, his trainers started incorporating brandy into this raw egg white and rat poison mixture. So Thomas Hicks, he survived this. He did survive. All the people I'm going to introduce you to did, in fact, survive the race. William Garcia, another American, he almost died 8 miles into the race from dust inhalation. The dust from the road coated his esophagus and led to a ripped stomach lining, and he almost bled to death.
Gosh.
The fact that they could fix that in 1904 is kind of cool to me.
Yeah.
There's
That's
not
crazy.
a whole lot of information on his medical procedure to fix this, but he did not die.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Good for him. Good job.
A man named Len Tao from South Africa was chased a mile off course by a dog. And records are shoddy, but he may or may not have arrived to the race barefooted.
Wow.
Another
Okay.
American named John Lorden had stomach cramps and vomiting a couple miles into the race and gave up. Another American, Fred Lors, hitched a ride in a moving car for 11 miles of the marathon. He obviously won, in air quotes, won. He was the first one to cross the finish line, but he was immediately disqualified because obviously he did not win. And he laughed this off, calling it a joke, but he had to be forced off the winning stage.
That is so funny.
That's crazy. Fred Lore is just like me. I would hitch a ride in a car too.
So one more person is a Cuban man named Felix Cara. Excuse me. One last contender I want to introduce you to is a Cuban man named Felix Carvajal. So let's talk about Felix. It's amazing that he got to the race in the first place, given that in traveling from Cuba to St. Louis, he lost all his money gambling in New Orleans on the way north and had to hitchhike the rest of the way to St. Louis.
Wow.
He showed up to the race barely on time, wearing heavy long sleeves and heavy long pants. He cut his pants with scissors to turn them into shorts before the race.
Wow, what a savage.
Throughout the race, he stopped often to cheerfully chat with spectators. Some of these spectators were in a car. At some point, he realized he was getting a little hungry, and some spectators in a car were munching on some fresh peaches, and he just stole a couple peaches from them because he wanted them. Stole them and ate them while running.
That is so unreasonably hysterical. That he just passed a car and just stole peaches.
Yoink. And then apparently this did not slake his appetite for fruit. Later on, while also running, he stopped at an apple orchard. There must have been an apple orchard along the way. And he ate so many apples, and somehow not realizing that these apples were rotten, he made himself sick and he had to lay down and slept through the rest of the race.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Now
I
imagine
really like this guy.
being the referee, waiting to tally back everyone in, and this is everyone's little side quests. This is like a good 10-hour plus race. Do we know how fast the finisher was?
Okay, so the guy who hopped in a car and rode for 11 miles was the first one to cross the finish line, and it took him about 3.5 hours. So it took everyone significantly longer than that.
Wow.
That's a long time.
And do we have a winner? That's
Do you
not
want
him?
to
Like a
guess
second?
which of these crazy guys ended up winning this race?
Why do I want to say Thomas Hicks?
You're kind of right, though. It is Thomas Hicks. From the Good Morning Gamecocks crew to you, do not drink rat poison.
Yeah.
However, I feel like I have to go out on a limb and say that the fact that Thomas Hicks won probably had nothing to do with this literal poison cocktail he was being fed by his training crew, but he did win.
Good for him. I'm glad he survived.
Yeah. I'm glad all of them.
He's doing some serious stuff to his digestive system.
He did
Ingesting all of
survive.
that.
When he crossed the finish line, he was immediately attended to by medical crews. He was severely dehydrated and hallucinating. And
Wait, you mean the
Not
egg whites
okay.
didn't hydrate him?
It seems not.
Ugh.
It seems not.
The brandy neither?
His winning quote was like, "The hills simply tear a man to pieces." Everything he went through, and he's complaining about the hills.
Wow, no, dude's got salmonella and rat poisoning. Like,
On top of all of that, this marathon was actually shorter than standard marathon length. Normal marathons are 26 miles long. This one was just over 24.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That makes sense. I was wondering why the water station was at 12 miles if halfway is 13 miles because, 26.
Yeah.
But I guess that makes sense now.
Yeah, so that's just scratching the surface of the 1904 Olympics. I think we've come a long way in 120 years.
I would say so, considering
Yeah.
that athletes aren't drinking rat poison anymore.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I'm excited to watch the Olympics. I'm really excited for the opening ceremony. I think the opening ceremony is consistently one of my favorite parts of the Olympics.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think I've ever seen the opening ceremony, actually. I'm being serious.
Well, check it out Friday at 1:30 p.m.
I'm going to.
You
For
can watch it
sure.
like right after watching our episode.
Yes!
Exactly. So you guys
Watch
head
our
over.
Good Morning Gamecocks, head over to the Olympics. It's a good day.
Mm-hmm. And I think the coolest part about like the opening ceremonies is you get to see that country's traditions more. So they like to show that through, singing, dancing, all types of genres to present their country to the
I
world.
love seeing the uniforms. That's one of my favorite parts of the opening ceremonies, is seeing every country's uniforms as they promenade in.
The USA uniforms look so good.
Are they
Like
good
the
this
opening
year?
ceremonies uniforms? You don't like them?
I don't love them. It's always it's Ralph Lauren every year, but it's like capri jeans and like navy blazers.
I really like them.
They're giving coastal grandma.
I mean, it is preppy.
Yeah, I think that is for the Paris aspect.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's very preppy. I think I agree with that assessment.
I did see one comment on the uniforms, and someone said, "Welcome back, Warblers from Glee." If anyone knows that reference.
You're so right.
So it looks a little bit like that, but it reminds me of a school uniform a bit.
Yeah, except they're wearing jeans. I don't know. I'm a fan of them. I like them.
They look stylish, and we got LeBron James as the flag bearer in the opening ceremony.
Are you serious? LeBron?
Mm-hmm. They just picked someone else too today. I forget his name.
Well, I'm excited to tune in on Friday and see
Coco
all of that.
Gauff.
Oh, Coco Gauff. I like her. She's the tennis player.
Yep.
Yeah.
So her and LeBron James
Interesting
will be
combination.
Team USA.
Interesting combo, but I'm here for it. I'm excited.
Yeah, tennis, basketball.
I'm looking forward to it. Well, it's almost the end of this podcast episode, but this wouldn't be Good Morning Gamecocks without a fun food fact. So, what are we talking about today, ladies?
The fun fact actually comes from me today. Is this the first time this summer that Meagan hasn't given the fun food fact?
Probably. Oh my goodness.
All right. Well, I don't know how excited I am to talk about this. I'm a little bit miffed because we're going back on campus for this fun food fact. So when they first built up Campus Village last fall and they opened it up, there were a couple little restaurant spots underneath it. Like there's a dining hall out there, there's a Starbucks, and we were supposed to get a Jimmy John's, which I was personally very excited for because I love sandwiches and I am quite partial to Jimmy John's bread. As far as fast food sub places go, I think that Jimmy John's is respectable. I was pretty excited for another one of those on campus. But the Jimmy John's never got built. It never opened. And it's never going to open because it's being replaced by something that, as of right now, is promising to open in fall of 2024. We can be welcoming a new restaurant called the Golden Spur. So this is going to be a full-service restaurant right in Campus Village. They'll be serving like American-style food and mocktails. It's going to be set up like a sports bar. So it's supposed to be a place that you go to like watch the game on television. It looks like it's supposed to be like a Buffalo Wild Wings on the inside.
I was a little bit skeptical when I first heard this because I wanted the Jimmy John's there, but that actually sounds kind of fun.
Doesn't it? I love B-dubs.
B-dubs?
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yeah, I never knew people called it that until I moved down south.
Yeah, I've never heard of B-dubs before.
But anyway, I really like a sports bar atmosphere. I like to be surrounded by a whole bunch of people like screaming at the same television. Just think that's just so.
It's fun.
It's so SEC.
Yes.
And I think it's a good thing too. Like, I mean, if we got freshmen that don't want to trek all the way out to the football stadium on a hot, sunny August afternoon, it's a great spot. Go right downstairs outside your dorm and go have a mocktail and some wings and watch Gamecock football.
Yeah, and I'm even excited for like basketball games in there. I think that would be awesome.
That would be cool.
Totally. Because, realistically, someone very well might go to every football game, but no one's going to every basketball game. So that's just a really fun alternative to watch it.
Yeah, I think it has. There could be a really great atmosphere in there. I'm looking forward to see what they do with it.
I think the only thing is we might not see on a regular weekday as many students going in there because class is busy with extracurriculars. They want to just grab and go something. So I think we hopefully will see more of a busy days on Fridays and Saturdays. I don't know if will make a difference in if it's one of the restaurants that'll stay open or not.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that because Campus Village is very enclosed too. It's not very easily accessible to people who want to, unless they want to go, walk to it. So, yeah.
It's kind of far from the rest of campus. So I worry if like maybe upperclassmen will never actually go out to it. But if the population over on the Campus Village side can keep it afloat, then great.
It also might be one of those places that are only open like Thursday through Sunday, and they close Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah. I do have to say, I love the name of it, Golden Spur. I think that's awesome.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm excited to go eat there when I get back. Maybe we'll go there over a little dinner with us girlies when we get back. If you want to join me.
Of course. Always.
Good Morning Gamecocks outing.
Yeah. If anyone wants to come, we'll be signing autographs. All right. Well, enough with the jokes. We're going to wrap up Good Morning Gamecocks for today, July 26th, 2024.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram, X, and Facebook at SGTV at USC. To keep up with all of our content, be sure to also visit us online at sgtv at usc.com. For SGTV, I'm Chloe Findlay.
I'm Meagan Daukshus.
And I'm Caroline Smith. From all of us here at SGTV, have a great weekend, Carolina. Forever to thee.